Hey everybody, thanks for joining. I'm Travis Durek with Peplink, and today we've got a special guest, Michael Maitland from Frontier. And really, this is a brand new kickoff for a brand new series. This is our Pep Talk series, and this is a sales-focused effort. We want to help you folks simplify selling Peplink. And so this is going to be the very first of the series again, and today we're going to focus on the surveillance market. So selling Peplink into the surveillance market. And again, we've got Michael Maitland. Mike, I apologize. I don't know your title, but I know you lead the sales team at Frontier. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself and actually tell me your title too.
Well, thanks, Travis. It's exciting to be on here. I've worked with within the Peplink ecosystem for 14 plus years now. At FrontierUS, I handle our channel sales team and business, really working along the Peplink ecosystem with our partners. I had a lot of experience talking with partners and their customers on applications, and one reason, we really thought it was important to bring this webinar to existence is a lot of focus is always on the technical side. Peplink does so many great things in their features or products and in the solutions they provide, but sometimes it's over people's head. How do you get into selling Peplink easier? How do you make it more efficient, or how are you more confident when you're just starting? And so really, that's why we brought this webinar to fruition, is how do we give the sales members on the street confidence to go talk about challenges and solutions within Peplink that their customers may be facing, and really start and get into that ecosystem, make it easy. Over time, you learn the benefits of the technology, the robust portfolio, and all the great things we have to offer additionally. But let's get started and make it easy to start and build confidence along the way. So looking forward to this webinar, looking forward to the webinars in the future in regards to new verticals and applications. So people, please bring your suggestions on where we should focus for the next webinars. And if you'd like to join us, let us know that as well. We'd love to have guests as we proceed with future webinars. So thanks, great to be here. Let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you highlighted one thing that's really important is just, Peplink's got great technology and we've got all these different products, and that is really applicable to so many different applications and use cases. And when you're selling to these customers, that can be really challenging and intimidating even because, when you're coming in there, you're not the expert in surveillance or medical facilities or all these different locations necessarily. But again, Peplink has a story that's going to really, I think, resonate with people in each of those situations. So we're going to try and boil that down and just give you pieces of information that you can take out in the field and, again, feel more confident, like you said, Mike, when you're coming into these different situations.
Exactly.
So with that, like I said, there's a lot of common challenges out there. And I think the things that we'll talk about here probably would apply in a lot of different other markets. But again, today we're here to talk about surveillance, and we're going to just keep peeling this back and go market to market in this webinar series. But Mike, what are some of the challenges over the years that you've seen when you come into surveillance networks and customers trying to kind of improve their connectivity there?
Yeah, we see a lot of challenges and things we talk with partners and their customers about, but kind of boils down into 4 areas, to cover most of them. And that's in regards to environmental. What are your power availability? What's the temperature? What's the ruggedness of the device you need? Where is that going to be deployed? Moving into newer technologies, bandwidth requirements are more and more important every single day. High definition and different things that are requirements for live streaming and things. So, making sure you have the right bandwidth all the time is important. Security, probably goes along with every market and vertical, but it's always important, and we have you covered there. Along with scaling and being able to scale deployments and the management side of things. How do you handle these devices and the routers you have out there to help with this? So those are 4 of the main challenges, and we'll kind of dig into those more as we go through the different slides here.
Yeah, and I think those challenges are all things that we've got good stories to tell. Again, and it applies in this market, but lots of other markets too. But the thing that I see a lot is, people try and just I think there's a natural tendency to just try and offer the lowest dollar solution, right? Anytime you come into a new customer, a new project, it's just like, here's the lowest price device, and man, I hope this wins, right? And sometimes you're going to win on that, right? But that doesn't always hold up when you actually look at all these challenges that you've talked about, right? And so, with Peplink, the blessing and the curse maybe is that we've got a lot of devices to choose from. So again, we're going to help boil that down for you and help you kind of like give you some guideposts so that kind of when to use the BR1 Mini versus an EPX, right? There's a huge gap in between there, but again, we're going to try and simplify that for you. And so we've broken it down into 4 tiers. And Mike, I think this is something that you've really grabbed onto and helped us kind of expand ourselves. And so I'd like you to just kind of walk through these 4 tiers with us and help explain.
And this kind of goes down to being able to, first what Travis just said on the cost of the product, right? You're selling yourself short if you're putting the wrong product into an application. You're going to have a lot more work on the back end, not the front end, if you're sizing these applications wrong. And this goes to really having a large portfolio and a large solution offering from Peplink. And we came up with these 4 different levels of connectivity, really just to be able to help you identify the applications that and the solutions or challenges that your customers are trying to solve for, and being able to put it into kind of one of 4 buckets that help you kind of piece together, imagine what devices and what solutions go along with each and every one of those kind of buckets. And what we came up with here is 4 levels of connectivity. We have first at the bottom wireless connectivity, and we'll dig into each and every one more here as we roll. But wireless connectivity, basically just using cellular connectivity as your solution or your backhaul. Better connectivity, this is where you're going into and starting the multi-WAN type of solution, whether it's wired connection, cellular. You may have more devices on the local LAN side, so you want some more ports, more accessibility, those type of things. But and then as you go up, it's essential. This is where bandwidth is really a concern. Always on connectivity for high definition or live streaming or live viewing, and then mission critical. It kind of builds on top of that essential piece. It's a multi-WAN solution with cellular, satellites, all these different types of inputs. But if you don't have connectivity with these critical connectivity options, it might be life or limb. It might be a liability. So, those are kind of what you want to be digging into with your customers and trying to identify where they fall. And then it's easier to identify the product and the hardware that goes along with that, and also adjust and talk on the price point, because that's always a part of it.
Yeah, I think as we move from the bottom to the top, the requirements, the technical requirements go up and up and up, right? The challenge is greater, and the cost and the budget is going to need to go up and up on that scale too. And so I think this can help, kind of on the front end, like you said, map that customer to what their needs are and what their applications are. And I think that'll make it a lot easier to then step through the conversation of what device is right and why that is the right device for them. And so we're going to just dive into each of these individually and help kind of peel that back a little bit so you can understand how to identify these customers and requirements. And so the first one is just the wireless connectivity. And I think, Mike, you can probably talk about this more than I can, but they just want it to be connected and they don't want it to go down. They don't want to have to reboot the router and things like that, right? People try and use these MiFis and these hotspots, and that's just not a reliable device for 24/7. And so it's just going beyond that, I think, in most cases. But more specifically, what have you seen folks out there doing in this type of requirement?
Yeah, really, what we see here is a lot of vehicle and type of applications or home office. This is where, you have local storage of the video and the content, so that you're not always having to access from a live stream or always on connectivity. So you want management to these devices, you want accessibility when you need it, but you're really not needing to have always on access to the actual footage, right? You're not live streaming, it's not high def, but it's being stored locally. So prime example is a police vehicle, right? A lot of times they have the local storage there. When they get to the headquarters, they're offloading that video into their network, right, where they have more accessibility to it. But during that time when they're on the road, you can access that. You can manage it. You can make changes. But it also is touching on the health of that camera and making sure it's live. There's a heartbeat, right? But you just don't need that consistent access that some of the other levels need.
Yeah, I like that heartbeat, right? Because it's, they need to know that the system's working. They need to know that it's functioning. If there is a problem, they need to get those alerts back. And so it's that sanity check in my mind is, the wireless connectivity. If the vehicle's on, the system needs to be on and it needs to work every time. But
exactly.
Yeah, the actual day-to-day usage isn't going to be that heavy in these cases. And yeah, it could be a vehicle, it could be a gate at a front entrance of a facility. It could be a lot of different scenarios, right? It's not necessarily mobile or fixed. I think that reliable, just essential wireless connectivity is common in a lot of different scenarios.
Exactly.
So as we move up, there's better, right? And well, what's better? To me, this is just, making that seamless. You go from that, it needs to just be always on, but maybe in this case, you've got a coverage gap, right? Maybe your primary carrier doesn't cover this stretch of highway that you need to make sure that you've still got those heartbeats, or maybe you are doing a little bit more live viewing or something like that. And again, this may not be necessarily mobile, it may be fixed locations too, but Mike, what do you see out there in terms of like needing better connectivity than that just basic wireless?
Yeah, a lot of times too this is when we start incorporating multiple connection options, whether that's a wired WAN failing over seamlessly to a cellular connection, whether it's two cellulars, like you say, if you're on the road and you have dead spots and different things, or you bring in a satellite option or something more along that lines. But also you may have more local devices that you're handling, so it may be more of a router and switch combo type of thing where you're having more access controls or just different devices you need access to, right? And so that it's really, like you said, I may start having some wanting to view in a live instance as well. Might not need the definition of some of the higher levels of criticality or connectivity, but you're just starting to really need that seamlessness and that that accessibility.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Again, it's that always on, but it's protecting against that what if your primary connection just isn't there or isn't quite good enough in day-to-day use, then yeah, you need better, right? You need better, and we can't make bandwidth magically appear, and so better often requires that second connection, and so that's really what these devices, I think, enable. So if we step up one more level, now we're getting into essential, and essential, this is where things start getting serious, right? Like all of these other applications are of course important, but in this case, that technical requirement I think has jumped up a lot, whether that's bandwidth or the reliability aspect. Again, there's just a lot more devices here, it looks like, I think. And who do you see having these types of needs?
Well, first, these are the type of levels that really now start playing into Peplink's capabilities, their portfolio, their larger devices. Also, there's some of their software capabilities and different things, right? This is where you have multiple cameras being powered by a device locally. This is where you need high definition streaming always available from anywhere. Some applications, maybe utilities, where you have a higher value assets. Again, multiple cameras, but also live events, big construction sites. That's where we're seeing these type of solutions being done, right? And now we are stepping up into the higher end devices. The BR2 is a great dual 5G solution, right? It's ruggedized, it's got high temperature ratings and different range and everything, but 2 active 5G, you can have high definition viewing from this anytime, anywhere. Now, the one difference is if you have a blip or something, you may be able to live with that, right? But you really want it always on. That's where we're seeing real success here, and some of Peplink's solutions, this is where we really outshine the competition. We have a product and offering that fits this, right? If you have some power requirements or power is hard to get to, the dome is weatherproof, but it also has PoE in and out, right? Where you are able to power that camera as well, and then hand off to Ethernet, so your brains or your operations can be a long ways away as well. So this is really where Peplink shines, but we're able to handle the lower levels as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing that, like you said, this is really where our technology and our portfolio really come together and tell a much better story than the competition out there. When you've got a dual 5G device, number one, some people recognize the need for that, right? And there's other people that make dual 5G devices, but they don't make them work the same way that Peplink does, right? And so SpeedFusion is that software layer that adds the real value to the customer in this case, right? So yeah, I can take 2 5G connections and I can take 1 camera stream and make that better. I can make that faster. With anybody else, I'm going to take that camera stream and it's going to go out 5G connection number 1, or it's going to go out 5G connection number 2. And it's going to live and die on that connection. And so we do it better. We do it differently. And it's not the same as somebody else's dual 5G. And so it's the devices and the technology that really, I think, tell the story here.
Yeah, and this is something that I've kind of piggybacked off you from, Travis, in the past is, we compete against other manufacturers or hardware manufacturers and different things, and we create great hardware. But really, truly, deep down, Peplink is a software company, and we differentiate ourselves with the capabilities the software provides from these high-end or different types of devices. The session persistence, the bonding, the WAN smoothing, different things that separate us, others aren't doing, right?
Yeah.
And it's really crazy, and we'll dig into that more too. So.
Yeah, it's good because you don't have to get super technical, right? You can just talk about how that impacts what they want to do, right? You can ask them, hey, you can get a dual 5G device from somebody else, but what happens when your carrier 1 goes down? What happens to that camera feed, right? You don't have to talk about all these technical details. You can say, hey, this camera might be using this connection and it's going to go down, and then maybe it might fail over and come back up 2 minutes later on that connection, but then now all your connections are on that one. And so it's easy to talk about it from, I think, their perspective instead of, our technology is awesome and these are the details of it, right? It's about what it does for them.
Yeah, get them thinking about the experiences they've had in the past and the pains that's come from those, right? And then you can talk on kind of how Peplink solves for that to alleviate. So it's draw on their experience for sure.
Yeah. So we move up to the top of the tier, and again, we just shine even brighter here because the scalability doesn't end. I think this is similar to the essential connectivity, but it's just more important. It's life and limit stake, or millions of dollars, right? This is just absolute big liability, big risk type of situations, and we've got solutions to speak to that. But who do you see doing these types of requirements or having these types of requirements?
A lot of times in this area, we're looking at, public safety with mobile command vehicles. We're looking at healthcare with mobile health clinics and different things like that, but also from their headquarters side of things, where they may have fiber and multiple 5Gs for true business critical failover or application failover. We're seeing a lot, energy grids, utilities, where it's really, you need all this access and you need it all the time. And if it goes down, you don't see that, there's a true liability that was created, right? And like Travis said, our hardware, our portfolio, our solutions really play into this, and we succeed and we shine in these type of applications. No one else can really even, come close to what we're able to do here. And it doesn't matter if it's multiple cellular, or you have Wi-Fi as WAN, or you're using satellite connections of any type. I mean, Peplink's so capable of adding and using all those different types of selections to give what you need, or give the solution you need, all access all the time.
Yeah, and I think there's some fun stuff here too, because you can go outside of really what people even realize is possible. I mean, we've got a lot of customers doing teleoperations of vehicles, right? Driverless vehicles, where driving it from Michigan, but the car's in New York and things like that. And that's not science fiction. I'm talking about real Peplink customers, multiple Peplink customers doing that. And they need that video to be absolutely smooth and clean and work every time, right? It's really,
can't go down.
Can't
go
down,
down
right?
when you're driving a car, right? Or a airplane or a helicopter. I mean, there's some pretty cool stuff out there being done.
Yeah, it's all possible. And I think the other fun story, if as we look back down to the other levels, is these high-end devices, they have the same exact software running inside of them as that $300 some BR1 Mini, right? It's the same code, it's the same technology all the way up and down the stack. And I'm not saying that BR1 Mini is the right fit for this application. It's not, but that code base, that stability, and that technology is all there. And it's just about sizing the devices to their requirements and their needs and what their context is. But again, behind it all, it's the same stable, reliable, powerful technology. So it just tells a really great story, even if there's a lot to pick from and it's kind of overwhelming at first. It's
exactly.
It's just a matter of sizing it right and figuring out what they really need.
Yeah. And then that's the key. It's sizing it right, being confident with your sizing, and being confident when you have to offer more than that lower entry level device, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that's huge, and not getting scared into just offering the cheap solution. Again, being able to speak authoritatively to why that won't work well and why this will work better. And yeah, those are things that again, we're trying to just dig into deeper here with you folks to give you those tools and ammunition to go out and tell that story to people. On the technology side, though, again, this is where things really, differentiate. And it's Peplink. We've got so many devices and so many models and so many different form factors that people always look at our hardware, right? And that's kind of impressive because there's just a lot of it there, and we make nice, reliable devices. But we're a software company, and it's the software that makes Peplink different, right? The hardware, lots of people can make a hardware spec sheet that matches our spec sheet. Cool, but it doesn't do the same thing at all. And there's a few pieces of our ecosystem that really do things differently. And so we've got, on the connectivity side, everybody's got their favorite carrier, and we're not trying to change that, right? You're going to pick T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, right? Everybody's got their carrier of choice in the US or in other countries. But again, a lot of times one connection just isn't enough. And so we're bringing our own connectivity over the air, out of the box, so that you can add that second connection really seamlessly. You don't have to go out and put another SIM card in it. We've got our SpeedFusion Connect 5G LTE service that you can activate and get that second connection in a kind of on-demand fashion. So you're not hassling with contracts and SIM cards and all that stuff. So just another way to make that actually a reality for somebody without a whole bunch of hassle and expense and administrative work.
It makes it easy. I mean, Peplink's made it easy to have failover, to have a traditional failover, even to your main failover, right? And something that's always available at any time, like you mentioned. And from a cost or investment standpoint, it's very little, right? And from administrative, it's almost no, right? So it makes it really easy, and you can talk to your customer about always having that last ditch connection.
Yeah, you don't have to go get another contract signed up with another carrier and have to go, because frankly, that can be difficult and that can be challenging, and then it just kind of muddies the water sometimes. And so having that kind of neutral option to activate on demand, I think is really, really valuable for people.
Exactly.
Management is the other piece. Again, when you try and roll these things out and people try and just go with the lowest cost option, they often just overlook and don't realize until it's already too late that, oh my gosh, it's actually a lot of work to manage even 20 devices out in the field, right? If they're in 20 different locations, or, imagine you have 200 or 2,000 devices, that becomes a really huge job and really challenging all of a sudden. And you don't have really detailed, stable, reliable, and feature full central management. That's going to be really hard for you to actually maintain a happy customer and going down the road, and make sure that deployment and that investment is usable and valuable ongoing, not just day one, right? It's the day 2, day 4, all the other days after you sell it, that's going to make that customer more happy, and again, come back and grow that instead of have to rethink how they did this and do it differently the next time.
Yeah, In Control's there to help you when you're just starting. right? And you only have a few devices, but you need access. You want management, you want insight, you want alerts, you want different things, right? But we have people that are then scaling that as they grow their business. Maybe they're doing a managed service and they have thousands of devices in here, and they're eliminating truck rolls. They're making themselves more efficient. I mean, there's so much powerful features and tool sets within this that really allow you to take your business and the way you are handling your customers to the next level. And we see it from all sides. So
yeah, eliminating truck rolls, I think that's such a huge thing, because the customers know how costly and troublesome that stuff is, right? They understand really fast how painful truck rolls are. And so that's one thing I've been successful with in the past, is when we're competing against a cheaper, lower cost solution. My challenge to those customers is always, hey, try one of those and try one of ours. Put those out in the real world and see which one you want to live with. Actually, see which one you want 100 of. See if you actually can handle having 100 of that device versus this device, right? What's that day two experience going to be like? And that's when you can really start to change minds and really, win people over of, oh, I'm actually getting a lot more for this investment than, just saving $50 on the device. I think, that extends even further now with our InTouch service. So you can not only have that similar, scalable management experience on the Peplink device, but now you can do that with the cameras behind that Peplink device. So InTouch lets you remotely access web admin interfaces for cameras, phones, whatever type of device you want. You can do remote desktop, SSH, FTP or RDP, lots of different protocols, lots of different things you can do. But again, you're just making that customer much more scalable, much more nimble, and able to manage those devices after they've deployed them.
Yeah, InTouch it shows so much in regards to how Peplink's thinking outside the box, and creating new ways to do things. People have traditionally done out of band management very differently, right? And it takes a lot of different devices or access. InTouch brings it all into one place, right? I mean, and it's easy to set up. I set it up in my home office for some devices behind my VR1 Pro because and I was able to do it without any training or anything. Now I can access those devices from anywhere. And it's just the power of Peplink right there, and the capabilities and the ways we're thinking to improve or to make things more efficient. And it goes to show, and they keep on doing it.
Demoing this stuff to customers is, seeing is believing. When you can show them like, hey, I'm in a web browser over here and I can access that camera over there. People go, oh, wow, that's really useful. I mean, if I had $1 for every time that came up on a phone call now, I probably wouldn't be a millionaire, but it's happening almost every phone call we have now. When we show people that, you can talk about it, but showing them that capability and how simple that is, that really turns the light bulb on for a lot of people.
Definitely.
So in control, I'll go into just a few details here. I think, again, centralized control is a really big deal, especially when we talk about the problems we brought up earlier, like security, right? Within control, you can centralize all your firewall policies so that your 100,000 devices all have the same exact firewall policies, and you've got one place to change that instead of having to go into 100 or 1,000 places and change that. It's scalable, it's seamless, and it just makes that user experience, that management experience, so much easier, and really protects you and your customer. The other thing is we can do the management differently than our competition by letting you run it privately. Sometimes customers are really security sensitive and they don't want to run this in the cloud, right? They're on a private network with a carrier that doesn't touch the internet on purpose, right? They're trying to stay away from the internet because they don't want that security risk. And so you can run this full featured management experience inside of those private networks without losing any functionality. You can still have that InTouch experience too with the private deployment option. Yeah. We call that our in control virtual appliance. So
that's a huge selling point. A huge selling point too that people should be aware of. Maybe not everyone is. You mentioned it may be a want, right? But sometimes it's a must, and it's a have to, right? And this is something not many others can provide or have a solution for. So make sure if you're not aware of ICVA and this piece, learn more from the people you speak with about Peplink, because it can go a long ways for certain applications.
yeah, if you've got a government customer, you can run in control privately in AWS GovCloud, right? In a certified data center that meets that customer's baseline security requirements. That's not possible with almost, I don't know of any other manufacturer that can do that, right?
Exactly.
That's just an absolute differentiator. And whether, like you said, whether or not they actually utilize that, I think it shows that we're paying attention and we actually listen and, you know, are focusing on what these challenges are with customers. And instead of taking these options away and pushing you into the cloud, you can choose.
Exactly.
And again, with InTouch, it's just easy, right? You can just log into whatever the heck's behind that Peplink. Don't have to think about where it is, what, you know, I don't have to set up any VPNs. I don't have to do anything except for point, click, and it's in my web browser, right? Much easier. And it's a huge problem for people. They're building, like you said, they're building out of band management networks. They're adding software packages. They're running PCs inside of the vehicles to do these things. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And not only do we enable this capability, it's just included. If you have a care plan, this is included. You don't have to buy this extra. Nobody has to think about it. It's just there. And you know, it's something most vendors don't have, and others are taking it away and depreciating this functionality. Even again, they're not paying attention to the needs of their customers, and Peplink absolutely is. So the last technology piece we'll talk about again is our SpeedFusion Connect 5G LTE service. So this is an eSIM based service, and so it's over the air. It kind of feels like magic when you actually deploy this. You can plug a router into the wall and screw some antennas on and go push some buttons on a website, and boom, your device comes online. That's pretty cool. But again, not everybody's going to need that or want that. You know, everybody's kind of got their favorite carrier, and you're going to have a good deal often on data with that carrier, right? Nobody's going to be able to beat the price of buying data from a carrier reseller or the carrier directly. And so that's not what we're trying to do here. Again, we're trying to add that convenience factor. So whether it's something you use strategically as, you know, your backup connection, or maybe more just day to day, like, oh my gosh, this unit's offline and I need to troubleshoot it. Okay, I'm going to activate that eSIM and see if it's my SIM card that's not working, right? You've got different ways that you can use this, but again, it's there and it's available, and you can use it whenever you want, and you don't have to use it either. But
yeah, exactly.
It's a unique offering that, again, nobody else is really providing.
Yeah, and your point is it's just accessible with a couple pushes of a button, right? It's really easy, and you've just created more redundancy across your connections with this as a last layer, and it works well. It's like you say, it's pretty much like magic, but takes the pain, takes the headache away, and it makes you feel better and safer when having it as an option, even if it's not, you know, enabled to start. You can always enable it. So
yeah, if you're monitoring a pipeline that's 1,000 miles away and that unit goes offline, well, you can see if it's just the SIM card, right? You can activate that eSIM and you don't have to send anybody out there or do anything. Did it come back online? Yes. Okay, then that was my issue, didn't it? Well, maybe there is a power issue and maybe I do need to send somebody out there, but now you've got more tools that you can use without getting out of bed, frankly. You can just look at it on the website and see what else might be going on.
yeah, exactly.
So I think that covers most of the content for today, but the content on the webinar, content doesn't end on the webinar. Our team, again, we listen to you folks. We know that we've got gaps to fill in our training, and we're working like crazy to do that. And so we're creating vertical industry specific content to help you guys speak to these customers, speak to their needs, and really speak to the things that they want to understand. Mike, I know this is something you folks have asked for forever from your sales team. It was just, we need more tools and more resources out there.
Yeah, make it more accessible to the network, right, and to the channel. And Peplink's done a heck of a good job in creating these materials. A lot comes from feedback from the partners, from their customers. So please provide it, whether it's in the forum or to your distributor directly that can feed that into Peplink. But they're working hard to create the materials to enable you and your sales team to go out, be more confident, understand what problems we're solving, what devices are going to be used, and how to sell that, right? And that's the key. We need to arm you with that confidence and those capabilities and that information to be able to do that. And they're adding a lot of great content on other verticals. And again, please please share your ideas. If something's missing, if you need something, that's how Peplink kind of creates new products, but also new materials and new, new marketing pieces. It's by what the partners in the channel need. So please share your thoughts.
Yeah, and again, if maybe you've been in some of these resources before, but we're updating this really rapidly. So just in the last couple of days and weeks, we have put a whole bunch of new content in here. So again, if you've looked at it before, dive back in there and keep looking, and yeah, give us that feedback, because we're still making more. We're not done.
Exactly. We'll keep making more.
Yeah, and we're not done with the webinar series either. Again, this is the first one, and we're going to dive into a bunch more verticals, a bunch more use cases. And so, speak up, tell us what you want to hear about. And if you want to speak, tell your story, speak up as well. And, worst case, submit a case study, right? We would love to feature different customers, case studies, applications, and go, dive into those deep as well. And so, yeah, feel free to reach out to marketing at Peplink and share your thoughts there. That really covers all the content we had for today, but there's questions out there. And so we're going to stay on here past time, and we'll take some of the questions live. And so feel free to put those in the Q&A or the chat. And
yeah, Travis, we got a few questions so far. So first one, where can I learn more about ICVA?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go look on my web browser and get a link for that, because it's definitely on our website, and I will get a link ready for everybody.
Yeah, and there's good material and good information. Travis will fill that in, but also work with your distributors, guys, and they can fill you in on these platforms and these technologies, these services, and help you along the lines. And if something they can't ask, we'll get right to Peplink for it. So just reach out and ask. ICVA is a true differentiator that not always needed, but when it is, it will help you win the job. So we'll add that link in here. Another question: what's the difference between In Control and In Touch?
That's a good question. So In Touch is an add-on feature to In Control. So In Control is the browser-based management system that you can manage all your Peplinks, and you can remotely log into your Peplinks. And then In Touch is a feature inside of In Control. So it lets you go from that Peplink device to whatever is plugged in behind that Peplink. So it's just another tool in that web browser. So you don't need a VPN client on your laptop. You don't need a VPN connection to these devices. You just find your client on the client list and In Control, and you click the In Touch button, and you tell it, oh, is this HTTP? Is this HTTPS, right? Is this remote desktop? You just choose from the drop-down. It's going to automatically fill in the IP address of that device. And you just put in the few parameters you need to actually connect to it, and press connect. And then that shows up in your web browser. So if it's remote desktop, it's in a browser tab. You're not using third-party software or anything. It's just right there in the browser.
Yeah. A couple of good questions coming up. So is adding more devices with PoE capabilities on the roadmap?
So
they're great for security and surveillance.
Yeah, the roadmap is always influenced by customers. So speaking up here is great, but yeah, send sales@peplink.com, marketing@peplink.com. Let us know what the requirements are. What is it 802.3AT? Is it 802.3AF? How many ports you need? What type of connectivity you need? Just give us some details on what the use case is, what the scenario is, and the more people that ask for that, the more likely we are to do that. And so whether it's emailing us or putting it on the forum's often very helpful, because you can get that kind of groundswell response from other people in the community too. And for me, that's just a great segue to talk about forum.peplink.com. We have just an awesome, powerful community. There are so many just super smart people out there sharing just really detailed information about how they're succeeding in these different use cases. And so again, there's lots of friends out there that probably want the same thing, and yeah, speak up there, I think, is one of the best places. But
I'll add one thing. I think this is top of mind. So bring your thoughts, bring your ideas, but yes, it's something that's been talked about. So last one that we have so far, but please feel free to add more. Are Peplinks compatible with the Palo Alto Agentless Global ProTech VPN?
I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that. I mean, I'm very familiar with Palo Alto and used them over the years. They're a great security device and company, but yeah, I'm not familiar specifically with what the requirements or if it's a clientless VPN, I'm not sure what the requirement from the Peplink side would be, but I think that's a good one to either put in the forum or email into marketing at Peplink and ask, if you can give us a little bit more details on that, then I think we can dig into that more specifically.
Yeah, and we find we're compatible with a lot of VPN solutions from other manufacturers, but it does need to be looked at case by case and individually. So bring it to us and we'll help dig into that and see how we make it work. We see VPNs go across the SpeedFusion VPN in applications, and from an IPsec standpoint, you can connect some. So just let us know and we'll dig in more on that.
So I see a question on the IP55 device. That is an older device, and so it doesn't have a direct replacement at the moment that I'm aware of. I think the dome devices are the most easy device to speak about there because it fits a similar form factor in terms of outdoor, and it also provides a similar capability in terms of PoE input and then PoE output. So there's a port splitter there that you can have that PoE in and PoE out, hang a camera off of that device. So I think that's the most direct replacement, but there isn't like a new hardware revision specifically of that IP55 yet that I'm aware of. But yeah, those HD1 domes, HD2 domes, I think are the easiest place to look for a similar product there.
Yeah.
I think the other piece that we hear a lot about on the security side is just, people are really concerned about where devices are manufactured. There's a few different pieces of US legislation, NDAA, TIAA compliance. Those are things that Peplink is all compliant with. And so, when the security question comes up, that's often a question is, where is this device manufactured? Taiwan is always the answer for us. And, if they need official certification that we are in compliance with those requirements, that's something we're absolutely happy to provide a signed company certification that yes, we are actually compliant with those security requirements. Those are easy conversations. We've not had any problems with those conversations. We've not hit any barriers that we were not able to overcome and actually sell to that customer with. And I don't think your experience has been different, Mike, on that one.
No, I mean, we sell into a lot of space that would be a concern, and that's looked at heavily, right? And it's never been said that, or at least in my experience from working with the customer or through our partners or feedback from the partner, that's been a stopgap, right? That they couldn't move forward with Peplink because of this issue. Right. It is on the, it's obviously a top of mind subject, especially with everything going on. But it's nothing that's ever held us back from winning a deal or getting the product into the agencies or clients, wherever it may go. So,
yeah, again, I think oftentimes it really comes back to, our security architecture is just much better than a lot of other people's, right? You can take any piece of our solution and completely privatize it, put that in a zero internet access environment. And I don't know any other vendors that can really say that and still maintain that central management and all those features, right? So, absolutely those requirements are important and those checks need to be checked. But, when you come to the day-to-day realities of what security really is, running everything in the cloud is a big problem for people. And so having those options and those tools to really lock things down often is the eye opener for customers that, oh, this is a more secure solution. Well, cool. Right. I think that wraps up all the questions. Yeah. Mike, this is great. Thanks so much. And thank you everybody for joining.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Travis. Look forward to continuing this series as we move forward. Everyone, remember, please give your suggestions, and if you'd like to be a part of it, let us know. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, folks.